Hello and welcome back to another 4-Foot Friday post, where today we will be doing a reacting video, reacting to ESPN putting an article out on the projected records win total standings of every NBA team. I have not looked at this article yet, and as I said, if you watched my last video, it's probably on the same day that this came out. It's my monthly review and how I said that. I'm going to put try and put these reacting videos out. So this is my first one. Let's get straight into it. On this video for ESPN reacting to this. Let's get right into it. So as you can see, as this article says, it's like who's the biggest threat to the Golden State Warriors, and they're going to be using ESPN Real Plus Minus to try and decide this. So, starting off number one, we have the Golden State Warriors, 62.1 projected wins. It will be interesting to see what happens. And it says that despite being projected for 4 fewer wins, so they're actually projecting the Warriors to drop off, which I think is a mistake for them to say because their bench got so much stronger getting Nick Young and Omer Kasipi. So, I think maybe they do get at least 65 wins. Moving on to number two, we have the Houston Rockets. And it's 55, meaning that, Houston, it says 47 win projection, it added to it. And I think Chris Paul, great addition, so I definitely agree with this, but I might not put them, above the San Antonio Spurs team, because they have a great team, but are they really better than the San Antonio Spurs and Kawhi Leonard? And that's what we're going to look at now. And number three, they do have the Spurs, Patty Mills will be playing more minutes. They'll have Danny Green playing more minutes. I think this team's getting better. You have a good Tony Parker off the bench. Shooting guard, you're giving more minutes to Danny Green, you don't have those same amount of minutes that you're giving to Manu Ginobili. Moving on to the Minnesota Timberwolves, I definitely agree with this. Maybe you put them at 5, maybe you put them at 4. 50.1 wins. They added Jimmy Butler, incredible trade for them because they are obviously a contending team. And with Jimmy Butler joining stars Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, this time feels different. So, they had a 37-win projection. They've jumped all the way up to this 50-win projection because of adding an all-star in Jimmy Butler. Moving on to number 5, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. And they obviously added Paul George and Patrick Patterson, he works so hard to become really become a good NBA player. And Paul George is obviously incredible. They did give away Victor Oladipo, but it doesn't matter. You got Paul George, you got an all-star, you have Russell Westbrook, and you have Paul George. Moving on to the Clippers. They obviously got Patrick Beverley and Lou Williams. And this here, I think it's surprising because they have Danilo Gallinari, they have Blake Griffin, they have DeAndre Jordan. But in order to succeed in today's NBA, you really need a good backcourt. So I'm not sure if Patrick Beverley and Lou Williams can get it done. And we'll have to see what happens. Moving on to number 7, the Denver Nuggets projected 47.2 wins. And I think this team's incredible. I think they'll have the best front court, or probably second best front court, only behind the Pelicans, because they have Paul Millsap, an all-star. They have Nikola Jokic, very young, talented player. And, this Nuggets team, they have that. They're a very good three-point shooting team. They were, I think, third highest offense last year, so I definitely agree with Denver Nuggets being placed 7th. Moving on to number 8, we have the Utah Jazz. I don't agree with this at all. They lost Gordon Hayward, right? They lost Gordon Hayward, and they also lost George Hill. They added Ricky Rubio, however, I just don't think that can get it done because it would be him and Rudy Gobert. And as much as Rudy Gobert is a great defensive player, I think he should have won Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think he can get it done on that offensive end, so I don't agree with that. I think the Pelicans should be number 8. They have Drew Holiday that will be probably starting shooting guard. Maybe you put him at point guard, but if they do make the playoffs, the Pelicans, they'll probably play Holiday at shooting guard and Rondo at point guard, considering how well Rajon Rondo, how he plays in the playoffs. Solomon Hill would start, probably. But best front court in the league, I'd say over the Nuggets, DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis. They've been working so hard together in this offseason. It'll be interesting to see how they do next year. Portland Trailblazers, number 10. interesting to see how they do. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, but I agree with this. They'll definitely, I think, drop out of the playoffs because they're just not that good of a team with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. They also have Nurkic, but those are you have two hefty contracts with like Allen Crabbe. I just don't think that will get it done. Moving on to number 11, we have the Dallas Mavericks. I'd put the Grizzlies over the Mavericks because of the fact that, Mark Cuban described the Mavericks, as it says here, they described it as rebuilding. And you have Nerlens Noel, and then you have Dennis Smith, and you also have Harrison Barnes, but can that get it done? Can that, is that really better for rebuilding? The Grizzlies, I think, will be contending. And even Grizzlies, it says here, 39-win projection, they actually had 43 wins and got the 7th seed in the West. So they projected them not even to make the playoffs. I think this Grizzlies team is talented enough to make the playoffs. They lost a few players, yes, but they still have Mike Conley, Marc Gasol. They'll make the playoffs for sure, in my opinion. Lakers, they have Lonzo Ball, KCP, Brook Lopez. I agree with this. They won't be that high up. They don't have. They're doing great in their rebuild. I don't think they should have traded D'Angelo Russell, however. Still a good team. Suns, I agree with this again. 14th. Josh Jackson. You have Tyler. You have Eric Bledsoe, who could be traded for Kyrie Irving. Backup Tyler Ulis. You have Devin Booker, incredible 70-point game. He has the ability to score that much. And then you have Tyson Chandler, who's going to lead Marquise Chris and whatnot. And then it said the Kings, which I think the Kings, that's such... I don't think that will happen because the Kings, they have George Hill, they have veteran leadership, and I just don't see them dropping that far down. I think, the Suns will drop even farther. Boston Celtics, number 1. I agree, yeah, Boston Celtics, number 1. They could get Gordon Hayward. Maybe if Cavaliers move Kyrie Irving, that would happen, but I do think, like last year, Boston Celtics claimed the number 1 seed, and the Cleveland Cavaliers claimed the 2 seed, but the Cavaliers will only be like 1 game behind, which is what this is showing. Washington Wizards. This is interesting. Otto Porter's going to get better. John Wall's going to get better. Bradley Beal hopefully won't get injured, and he'll be better because we've seen the capability of when they're all playing together. And they have an underrated front court with Marcin Gortat, and also they have, I believe, Markieff Morris. So the problem with them, they don't have a bench, which could hurt them. Obviously, they did lose their Bogdan Bogdanovic, and they also lost Brandon Jennings to China. So I don't really see them. Maybe 4 seed. I think the Bucks will play in that 3rd seed because they have the youngest starting rotation, as it says, of any projected playoff team. You have what's his face? You have Malcolm Brogdon, and then you also have Giannis, who could be an MVP in 2-3 years, and then you have Thon Maker, who took over Greg Monroe in the starting lineup during the playoffs. This team is really coming together, and I don't see them getting the 4th seed. I see them getting the 3rd seed, competing, going really far in the playoffs. Number 5, the Hornets. I don't see them as 5th seed. I see them more 6th seed, because I think the Raptors will take over that. They could get the 5th seed because they didn't make the playoffs last year, but they went 3-17 in the 20 games Cody Zeller was missing, and adding Dwight Howard, as it says, should help if Zeller does get injured. So that's something key to look at. So maybe they get the 5th seed, but I think, in the 6th seed, they have Serge Ibaka. He'll be playing probably the whole season unless he's traded. Obviously, he got traded to the Raptors last year. And Patterson's gone. It doesn't really affect it if you have that great player in Serge Ibaka. Number 7, you have the Miami Heat. And they re-signed, obviously, James Johnson and Dion Waiters. You also have Goran Dragic, Hassan Whiteside. You have also Bam Adebayo. He's a rookie that's looking to develop on this team. And then you also have Justice Winslow. So, I don't know. I really see this. This team could go as far as like a 5th seed. A lot of these teams in this conference can really go and get to that 5th seed. But, yeah, I agree with this. Number 8, Detroit Pistons. Maybe I think the 76ers might climb to the 8th seed, however. I could see the Pistons. They have that projected wins of 35.1, which is crazy to think that if they have that much of a losing record, they can still make the playoffs. They lost they lost Marcus Morris and they lost KCP, but they did add Avery Bradley, who is an insane defensive player. So it really will be interesting to see what happens there. Number 9, 76ers, 33.2 wins. I could see them climbing to maybe 36 wins. Yeah, so 32 wins, that will be interesting to see, or 33, excuse me. It will be interesting to see how they do. I think, if Joel Embiid stays healthy, doesn't play, I believe it was, 38 games, maybe even less. But it'll be interesting to see if he stays healthy, how this team will do, adding veterans, Amir Johnson, JJ Redick, and also the 2 number 1 overall picks. Number 10, Orlando Magic. Makes sense because Alfred Payton, inconsistent shooter. Bismack Biyombo doesn't provide offense. Maurice Bates, their new addition. It doesn't do so much for the team. And Jonathan Isaac, it's not much of a 3-point specialist or anything. And so I agree with this. And really, they need that good 3-point shooter. There's many teams in the NBA that do. But, they need that 3-point shooter to provide for them. Indiana Pacers, number 11, I think they will, maybe reach that 13-14 seed because they lost Paul George and they lost Jeff Teague to the Timberwolves. So losing those 2 players will provide it's a big impact because, and they lost CJ Miles and I believe Monte Ellis. So I don't really see them, Victor Oladipo. I don't think him and Miles Turner can lead that team to overcome how bad that team looks on paper. New York Knicks, number 12, makes sense. As you see here, they don't have a point guard, and 32 wins, it could be as low as 25 wins. This team is really not as good as it really, it doesn't even look good. You have Carmelo and you have Porzingis, but you don't really have anyone else. Number 13, Brooklyn Nets, makes sense. They got D'Angelo Russell. They got Damari Carroll. They have a great player in Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. They have outstanding players. They traded Brook Lopez, which I think is a great decision. They have a very high-risk, high-reward player, Jared Allen. He could be the biggest steal of the draft. And the Nets, it says the Nets have the worst big men, but I don't think they have the worst big men because, Brook Lopez and Timothy Mozgov, not Brook Lopez, but Jared Allen, Timothy Mozgov, and you also have Damari Carroll possibly playing there. That's not the worst big men in the league. And they still, D'Angelo Russell could really lead this team. So I see them possibly challenging to that 9th, 10th seed, which is something that would be incredible for that team. Chicago Bulls, number 14, 28.5 wins. Zach LaVine projected by RPM to be worse than replacement level. If he, I think he tore his ACL. So if he does get injured again, because that injury is very prone to keep getting injured again. So it will be interesting to see what happens with him. So 28.5 wins, that makes sense. And then this one, the Atlanta Hawks, doesn't make sense. You have Millsap, gone, but you have Dedmon, Ilyasova, but you have Schroeder and Bazemore. I don't think they'll be 15th. The Chicago Bulls, they'll be worse. I don't know. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for today's episode. Thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. If you didn't enjoy this episode, feel free to leave a dislike, but let me know in the comment section how I can improve my videos. And make sure, if you want, to subscribe to my channel. But anyways, thank you for watching, and have an amazing day.